Still crying the same tears. From Emmett to Nolan, how many more years? Copper blood in these waters, Most High see us here. Peace be still, but the truth gonna appear. Emmett Till, young boy whistling in the store. White lies turned to lynch and dragged him from the door. Beaten, shot river, swallowed him whole. Open casket, mama showed the world his soul. Nolan Wills, 18, boat ride on the 4th. Only black in the circle, now they say he drowned 4. Horn Island whispers, friends came back without him. Mississippi history, still hunting, still doubting. Same state, same pain, different name. Black boy lost in the Delta rain. When will it change? Lord, when will it change? Ancestors screaming, we never left this stage. 1955, Chicago boy down south for the summer breeze. Money, Mississippi, wrong place for a black team to breathe. Brian stole maybe a whistle, maybe just a smile. Jim Crow code broken, now they coming in the night. Wild Roy and Malone snatched him from his uncle's floor. Tortured that baby, fanti round, body in the Tallahatchie roar. Mutilated face, mama said let the world see. Acquitted by all white jury, not guilty, set him free. Sparked the movement, Montgomery rose from the flames. But the Delta dirt still holding black boys' names. Emmett was 14, just a child in his prime, lynched for existing in a twisted mind. Emmett Till, Nolan Wells, Delta shadows ringing bells. Black life cheap in these haunted lands. Most High coming with justice in his hands. 2026 July 4th, independence gone wrong. Broke the Horn Island with the crew, singing freedom songs. 18 years young, big heart, only copper in the mix. Friends white as the judge that let killers walk in. 55 disappeared that day, body found on the shore 2 nights later. They say drowning, no foul play, but the family know better. Questions swimming deeper than the Gulf water's cold. Why leave your phone? Why the silence from the foe? Mississippi again, history echoing loud. Ben Crump calling for truth, independent, autopsy proud. Was it accident or the past rising from the mud? Black boy with white friends, trust issues in our blood.
Why the same soil claim my sons? Ancestor never left, we still the chosen one.
From Till's open casket to Nolan's unanswered call. In time signs, Leviathan rising, watch the fall. No hate, just black love, we hold each other tight. But stop crashing out on each other and demand what's right.
Peace be still,
Through the storm we prevail,
Father's child.
we shall not fail. Both in Mississippi, Delta's cruel embrace. One lynched open, one body lost without a trace. Emmett's killers brag after the verdict came. Nolan's story fogged in speculation and shame. 14 or 18, young kings taken too soon. Waters claim the bodies, but the spirit touched the moon. Same fear, same doubt, same racist undercurrent flow. But we wiser now, cameras, voices won't let go. Indigenous copper, mountain builder stand tall. We walk together, ancestors answer the call. No more silent nights, no more cover graves. Justice for Emmett, justice for Nolan. Raise the blade.
Emmett Till, Nolan Wells.
Hell no!
Emmett Till, Nolan
But our spirit never failed. We got black love revolution now. Most High know my heart, make it right somehow.
Peace be still,
Peace be still. From Till to West, story still real. Let the world see. Let the truth be free. Let the world see. Let the world see. Let the truth be free.
Right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your daily vitamins. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. All right. Also, don't forget to double check and make sure that you're still subscribed, especially if you haven't been receiving those notifications. All right. Hello, Chris B, Lillian X, Desmond, Reggie is here, DJ Truth, The Truth TV, Pearly, Nubia Ra. Okay, let's get into it. Love Christy, I see you, beloved. Claudette is here. All right, V Maltzby. Chris B, did I say you? POP is in virtual building. All right. Catherine Jennings is here. Broge, Betty Boop, 57 Beige Fox. All right. Cal Hyder Cooking is here. Greta Lee. Okay, Pensy Lola, Jerron, Alice, Margaret Moore, Terry Hitton. All right, so shout out to all of my loyal royals and everyone tuned into the Queen, and a big shout out to the moderators because y'all know they be putting in work. I see you needed some mics, world beloved. Okay, we the people. Let's get it poppin'. Truth Brown, Pretty Wings. Okay, so with that all been said, and without further ado, let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes. Then we'll get it started. Here we go.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Okay, so don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts, and you can also find her products at Walmart.com. And don't forget that she has beard oil as well. Okay, so likes up, everyone, please like and share. Now, so here's the thing. There has been another drowning. Okay, there has been another drowning. We need to talk about it. So likes up, everyone, please like and share. Let's get into it. And this one was a 9-year-old. Okay, a 9-year-old child. Let me pull this up really quickly. Now, Ben Crump posted this. Okay, I'm going to share my screen so we can talk about it. Now, you all know that since I have been reporting on the Nolan Wells case for over 2 weeks now, there's always, every other day it seems like there is another Black person who has been found drowned after they were out with people who don't look like them. Okay, I know I've reported at least 6 in a 2-week span. Okay, so please pay attention.
Please stop what you're doing, repost this video, and share this video. We're going to talk about the 9-year-old boy who drowned at Swim RVA on Monday. Latasha Johnson is the mother of King. King drowned at swim camp. Monday was the first day of swim camp. She dropped King off around 8:15, and shortly after 2 o'clock, she got a phone call that there was an accident. An accident? She gets to the hospital. Her son is declared dead. A 9-year-old little boy. My daughter Nora and King were in kindergarten together. Swim RVA is a 501(c) nonprofit organization, and their mission is to teach water safety to underdeserved children. King drowned at Swim RVA on Monday, the first day of camp. Latasha says the most insulting thing to her, there was a news article released that states Henrico County Police and Swim RVA are being very careful not to label this a drowning. This was a drowning, and Latasha says that she knows her baby drowned, sunk to the bottom of the pool, filled with water, floated to the top of the pool, and sank again. Swim RVA has offered her no condolences. They have not offered her any expenses to pay to bury her only child. She says the most correspondence that she has gotten is from the hospital because once he was declared deceased at the hospital, his heart was still salvageable. Latasha decided to donate out of the kindness and the love of children. She donated King's Heart to save 2 other kids, and she doesn't even know what happened to her child. This mother is in need of community. She is in need of support. She is devastated. King was her only child. His father is devastated. That was their only child. Big love to the bike clubs that are going to come together for his homegoing services. Anybody who would like to cater, who would like to donate, who would like to be of service, please reach out. She needs it.
This is all very sad and disturbing. Okay, prayers and condolences to the family. This is very awful, but let me tell you all something. I'm starting to notice a pattern here because I never hear these accidental drownings at these swim camps happening to little white children. Now, I don't want to say that this is being done on purpose. Maybe it isn't, but I do find it suspicious because even if it isn't being done on purpose, it would seem to me that more likely than not, they're being neglectful at the very least. They're being neglectful and not paying attention to some of these Black children, in my opinion. Because here's the thing. It was just a few years ago when I reported to you how little Izzy Scott, remember little Izzy Scott? They made a law about him after this happened. They named a law after him. Let's go to that report. Everyone, please like and share. Izzy Scott. They changed the way they deal with these things, supposedly after he drowned at the age of 2, when he also was at swim camp with people who didn't look like him. Everyone, please like and share. Okay, here we go.
Since Izzy Scott drowned in a swimming pool during a private lesson. Since then, Governor Brian Kemp signed Izzy's Law, which requires every private instructor to have a plan in place. They must include a student-to-instructor ratio, a second supervisor, and allow parents and guardians to attend those lessons. This summer, the Izzy Scott Foundation and Kroc Center have come together for kids' swimming lessons. The swim instructor charged in Izzy's death, Lexi Tenhusen, could be in court later this year. Last year, District Attorney Jared Williams charged her with involuntary manslaughter, which is a misdemeanor charge. For now, that trial is set for August 19th, but that date could change.
Okay, I find this absolutely egregious. And Love Chrissy said, where's the lifeguards? What lifeguards, beloved? They're literally at swim camp. They're at swim camp where they're supposed to be with counselors, swim teachers who are teaching them to swim. So there should never be a child in the water without a coach, someone who is there with them. And they should only have 1 or 2 children with them together at those sizes and ages. How are these things happening? Okay, they're not at some regular pool where they're just, out there and somebody turns their back from it. No, they're at swim camp where they're supposed to be learning how to swim. Okay, and I find it very interesting that these things continue to happen. And that's not even the last one. There was another one that happened just a while ago. This little boy is 6 years old. Now, thankfully, he's still alive. I don't know how bad his condition is, but he almost drowned. Okay, and this 6-year-old hospitalized after near drowning. Okay, let's go to this. It's the last one we're going to talk about because really we could go on and on. Okay, this is just so ridiculous to me. I don't see how these things continue to happen. Because after you hear the first story, if you are a swim coach or you have a facility where you're teaching toddlers and young children to swim, then I would think that you would, be more careful when you're seeing that this happened to someone else's child in the news, that you would take more serious precautions. So how do these things continue to happen, and why is it always Black children with these white instructors? I just have questions.
6-year-old boy nearly drowned after apparently being found at the bottom of the pool. What's even more concerning is that there was no on-duty lifeguard. They were on a lunch break when there were 30 children in the pool. This is Adonis Jackson. His attorney says he's in the hospital in stable condition, but intubated and being monitored. On Monday, Jackson was attending the Nike soccer camp on the UDC campus. The children in the program had been allowed to go into the pool after soccer activities. Now, according to the police report, counselors at one point noticed Jackson lying at the bottom of the campus pool. Authorities say one counselor jumped in to rescue him but couldn't lift him out. The counselor alerted the head coach, who entered the pool, pulled Jackson out, and immediately began CPR. Police confirmed that Jackson was unresponsive but breathing when officers got to the scene and took him to the hospital. Here's the attorney describing how the mother found out.
She received a call and said, "Hey, Adonis has guzzled some water," thinking it was something benign and nothing really severe. She stated, "Hey, I'll come and pick him up." And that's when the counselor said, "Well, we're going to take him to the hospital for further review." It wasn't until the moment that she gets to the hospital that she learned how devastating this could have been.
Attorney Dominique Calhoun says the family has not filed a lawsuit, but they want accountability and justice. We reached out to U.S. Sports Camp. In a written statement, they say, "We are aware of the incident at the camp held at the University of the District of Columbia, and our thoughts are with the child and their family. This camp is operated by Force Soccer, an independent camp operator, and we are in contact with them as they and the appropriate authorities review what occurred. We are not able to comment on specifics at this time." Their 6-year-old boy.
I bet they aren't able to comment it on at this time, okay? Now, don't you all find that interesting? And then for them to tell the mother that he guzzled some water, rather than telling her that your son, "I'm so sorry, but your poor son almost drowned because no one was paying attention." Why did they allow 30 kids to get into the pool while the lifeguard's on break? How does that make sense? How does that make any sense? This is so ridiculous. Truth Brown said water is the ritual. You know, I don't know what these devils are up to, but it's just getting out of hand, okay? But let's continue. Let's continue, because every other day it's something else. Okay, so listen, this is a report from yesterday that I forgot to tell you all about. Mississippi agency on Nolan Wells's oops, we let restricted records slip. Now, this is a report from TMZ. So they say the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources says it mistakenly released records tied to Nolan's death investigation. And now prosecutors are telling the agency to keep the rest under wraps. Well, maybe if they weren't trying to hide so much, okay, these things would happen. Maybe they should just be transparent in the first place. Like, what are they hiding so much for? So in a letter responding to a TMZ public records request, the MDMR acknowledged it had inadvertently released records related to Nolan's case. Now, the agency did not identify which records were disclosed or to whom they were released. And here's the request they have right here, a request for disclosure of public records to the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources. Okay, so anyway, the MDR said it was later notified by Jackson County District Attorney Angel Myers McElrath that Nolan's death remains under investigation and will be presented to a grand jury. Now, McElrath said the agency's involvement in the search for Nolan, along with assistance that it provided to the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, is part of that investigation and therefore exempt from public disclosure. Now, here's what I want you all to pay attention to. Now, the DA asked the MDMR to refrain from releasing any more protected information, and the agency says it is withholding the records that TMZ requested. Okay, they say, as you know, Nolan disappeared from Horn Island on July the 4th on a boating trip. Now, authorities have said they believe he drowned and have not found evidence of a crime, although an official cause and manner of death have not been released. Okay, and they say we obtained a video from gathering, and it appears to show Nolan in swim trunks on the back of a boat. It is believed to be the last image of him alive. An independent autopsy commissioned by Nolan's family found a large area of red discoloration on the back of his head that could indicate a possible injury, but the cause and manner of death are undetermined pending investigation. Let me just tell you all something. Notice how they talk about the investigation, right? But here's the thing. So now they've come out and admitted. They have come out and admitted, Sheriff Ledbetter, that in fact, they're still not investigating for foul play. They still don't seem to see anything suspicious. Okay, so my question is, because here's what it says. Okay, let me just show you all this. It says that they're investigating, police are investigating. This came out today at 4:12. This is breaking news. Okay, so they came out and admitted that they're simply investigating Nolan's death as a suspected drowning. There it is. Now, why is this important to note? Well, I'm so glad you asked, beloveds. Here's why. Because first of all, I just told you all this morning that the only reason it would make sense for them to have kept the throat, okay, those parts that they kept the throat, the hyoid is missing. So we know that it was likely damaged, fractured, or something like that, but completely missing. But here's the thing. I told you all this morning that the only reason that would make sense for them to keep the throat parts that were missing, right, in the lungs, is because they felt that there must be some sort of foul play, that it must not have been an accidental drowning, and they want to do and need to do more research to come to that conclusion. However, I did also say that they could have at least given the notes of their findings to the second pathologist so that he would have that for the record to help with his investigation. But they didn't bother. So now you know what it looks like to me. If they're investigating his death as a suspected drowning, then what the hell do they need the throat for? Okay, because that's the direction you're looking in. So you clearly don't think there is anything to see there. You clearly don't think there's any reason still to suspect foul play, even though these people lied, they hit the phone, they hit the keys. Okay, the timeline isn't adding up. They lied about the boat being towed. They lied about, they went to the boat launch. Okay, for Bayou boat launch twice. Okay, so what's really going on here? What is really going on here? So if you don't think out of all of these things, and let's not forget how they were allegedly scrubbing the boat at 3 a.m. in the morning. So with all of those red flags, with all of that suspicion, you mean to tell me they still think this was a suspected drowning? Oh, okay. So then that must mean that the reason they kept the throat and the lungs is so that they wouldn't have to give it to Ben Crump's pathologist so that he wouldn't be able to determine a cause of death, a cause and manner. So basically, this is why it's undetermined, okay? Because we already know that they didn't have the parts they needed. But so now it's looking like y'all are not looking into this further and trying to keep the tissue samples and the organs so you can figure out exactly what happened. You've already decided what happened. You're trying to prove your own theory that you came up with before you even did any sort of investigation. Do you all see where this is going? And this is very problematic. But I'm going to tell you what's even more problematic. Okay, please pay attention. Now, let me just get into this. And we got to talk about something else that's problematic. Quite frankly, I knew this was going to happen because I literally told you all days ago. Okay, I told you all days ago what Wig 2 was going to do. And we're about to talk about it because she's already doing it, as per usual. Okay, so here's what they say. An independent autopsy performed on the body of Nolan Wells this week was inconclusive, leaving the family of the 18-year-old athlete still searching for answers about what led to his death. Okay, Wells of Ocean Springs, Mississippi, went missing on July the 4th during a boat trip with a group of friends to Mississippi's Horn Island. He did not return with the group, and his body was found floating in the water just off the coast 2 days later. So police are investigating the death as an accidental drowning. A day after Wells's body was found, Jackson County Sheriff John Ledbetter said that Wells's friends were cooperating with investigators and that there was no initial indication of crime. That's because he didn't look for an initial indication. Now, the case has received national attention with prominent civil rights activists calling for a transparent investigation in a state with a long history of racial violence. So for the people who keep saying, why do you have to make everything about race? Well, this is why. Because the state of Mississippi has a long history of racial violence. Not to mention, we continuously keep hearing before we can even get to the bottom of this case and find out what really happened to Nolan. In the process, we still keep finding other Black folks, okay, young men specifically, who have gone off with people who don't look like them, and they're the lone Black person and they turn up dead. Okay, there's that. Okay, for anybody that's curious, trolls. Now let me continue. So with that all being said, they say we still have more questions than answers. Okay, this is what Ben Crump says, who's representing the Wells family, and said this at a press conference. Now, the results of the official state autopsy performed before the one commissioned by the family are still pending. Okay, a toxicology report has also yet to be released. Okay, so yeah, they're just taking their own sweet time. They're doing all of this for what? Because y'all already think it was an accidental drowning. Okay, so I don't see why they need to keep doing all of this. Okay, just put it out already. And here's the thing, for anybody else that's still wondering about the racial dynamics or why we think it's about race, let us not forget that I reported to you all last week, you heard it here first, about the Klan being still active down there in Mississippi, 7 Klan groups, about the governor having worn blackface previously, and in 2013 was the keynote speaker at a Brother of the Confederates rally or something, okay, that was clearly racist, with a huge Confederate flag right behind him. But here's the thing. Let me just show you how recent this is. Ku Klux Klan items found as Mississippi Department of Public Safety packs to move. This was just a few months ago. This was March the 24th of 2026. This was not years ago. This was recent. Look at this. Good and all. Okay, a Ku Klux Klan mask and handwritten charter for the organization's Mississippi chapter of the White Knights, okay, were found in evidence archives of the State Department of Public Safety. Now, mind you, if you watch that movie Mississippi Burning, which I recently watched a few days ago, just to see how similar the whole scenario still is, and it is, they were talking about the White Knights of the KKK then. Okay, so they still persist. All right, look at this. This is all the stuff they found. Look at this, their whole charter, a charter for Mississippi, the White Knights of the Ku Klux Klan of the sovereign realm of Mississippi. So I'm sorry. What are you talking about? Secret rituals, bylaws, and operations, because we know that they do rituals specifically on July the 4th. And specifically this year because it was the 250th anniversary. Okay? This is why. All right? This is why. Now, we'll get into all of the stuff that's contained in there. We'll get into that on another live. But I'm just saying, for the people in the back, I just think you need to know. This is why we keep saying that it may have been racially motivated. We don't know 100%, but that's why we come and arrive at that decision. Now, what I would like for the trolls to do is to please explain to us why they're so adamant that it isn't racially motivated and why they think that we're just a bunch of race baiters. Okay, because they know the history just as well as we do. That's what they know. They know that Emmett Till, Medgar Evers, okay, and the 3 men that went down there to register people to vote, they know that all of those people were murdered down there in Mississippi, okay, just for being black. And in the case of the 3 guys, there was 2 of them that were white, they were Jewish, but nonetheless, they were helping black folk. So that's why they got murdered. Okay, so I'm sorry, does that make it clear for anyone that was confused? Okay, I hope so. Now, with that all being said, let's talk about it, because I told you all days ago, put a 1 in the chat if you remember. Put a 1 in the chat if you remember. If you remember me telling you all days ago that wig number 2 has started to report on Nolan all of a sudden, and that I said she's going to be copying my receipts. Somebody put a 1 in the chat if you all remember me saying that. Now, this isn't just about wig copying my receipts. It's about misinformation, okay, that she's clearly given. I knew she was going to do that too. She always has to come and muddy the water. It's so annoying. Just stick to the script. Tell the information as it comes. Stick to your own. Be original. Stop copying me. Stop copying Danny Robinson. Stop copying The Lounge. Stop copying that girl Henny. Just find your own receipts. And if you're going to copy people, shout them out at least. Why don't you? Because that's what everyone else does who has integrity. Now, we're going to get into it because, first of all, like I said, she copied my whole spiel from this morning, but she did give some misinformation, and that's what I want to point out, okay? Because everybody's been doing their due diligence, like Secret Service. Shout out to all of the people who've been reporting on Nolan's story and bringing facts and receipts along with their commentary. Okay, with that all being said, she's giving misinformation, and I have to call it out, because what we're not going to do is sit up here and start muddying the water. And I want you all to pay attention to something, because the only reason that she's now covering this story is because Nancy Grace is now covering this story. They both started covering this story right after each other. And here's the thing, pay attention, because Nancy Grace didn't have anything good to say about Carmelo Anthony. She went in on Carmelo. She was talking all that trash like he was just some no good thug. Okay, and so that's why Wig 2 didn't come to Carmelo Anthony's defense. See, she's not going to do anything to tick off her white folk. That's what she's not going to do. Her and Nancy Grace are both whole Karens, okay? And we know how they sat up there and told all those lies at the Diddy trial. But here's the thing. Now she's sitting up here telling lies. I don't know if she's just too foolish or she's just repeating what Nancy said, because it sounds like she's repeating what Nancy said. Okay, so let's get into it. I'm going to share her video on the screen. And of course, I'll use an overlay because I don't want any copyright issues. But I want you all to pay attention. I have to call it out because, like I said, you know, people reporting on this just for clicks and views that really are not passionate about it, that really don't give a damn about Black people. And how do you know that? Well, you know that because, like I said, didn't do one story about Carmelo, not one. Not one. And then now reporting on this like 2 weeks in. Okay, and copying other people's talking points and then giving misinformation. Now I want y'all to pay attention to what she says, and then I'm going to debunk it real quick, and then I'm going to show you where she got the bullshit from, because she got it from Nancy Grace. Okay, please pay attention. They both are narcissists who think they know everything. Okay, and last night when she asked Sam, Nancy Grace that is, excuse me, I told y'all, when she asked Sam if he thought she was a witch, he should have said yes, because that's what I've always told y'all she looks like to me. Let's get into it. Now listen to how she tries to sound so smart, so intellectual. See, here's the thing. I went to school for this stuff, okay? At the end of the day, it's very interesting when people who are not smart at all can't even pronounce easy words or simple words correctly, but they want to sound smart, so they copy people who they know are smart. But they always tell them themselves, okay? Please pay attention, okay? They always tell them themselves, because if you really knew what you think you knew or want people to think you know, you wouldn't say things that are so asinine and really make no sense. But let's get into it.
Listening, new information in the Nolan Wells autopsy. We need to revisit it, and we need to talk about why diatoms or missing diatoms could break this case wide open. You guys, buckle up. It's going to be a lot of information, but I promise you the things you're going to learn are going to blow your mind. Okay, first off, I did an amazing live, if I do say so myself.
Now, please pay attention. She said the things you're going to learn are going to blow your mind. Like she's here to school people. Okay, I'm sorry. At the end of the day, that's one thing. And then I did an amazing life. She loves to toot her own horn. But just keep listening because it gets good.
Breaking down the Nolan Wells autopsy, and a lot of people were still confused about what I was saying. So I'm going to break it down in under 10 minutes, 5 minutes if I can, really quick. But I guarantee you, you will now have insight into what's actually going on and how close Ben Crump is to a breakdown. Okay, first of all, you guys, we need to talk about the elephant in the room. Okay, the drowning and the autopsies being undetermined, the cause of death, Ben Crump's being undetermined. We need to talk about the elephant in the room. Okay, under normal circumstances, drowning is extremely easy to prove in an autopsy. This is why everybody's getting so upset and being like, yo, something's wrong. Drowning is extremely easy to prove.
Okay, now I want you all to listen. Nalin says she sounds like Nancy. Yes, she does. Okay, Speaker Mind said Tisa will be struggling to get her words out. Somebody else said another content creator just called her out for lying. Here's the thing. Now, you all just heard her say that drowning is extremely easy to prove. She said it twice. Now, she's going to say it again in the next minute. And then I'm going to show you where she got that from and how she's so loud and so wrong. Talking about she's going to school people. Oh, you're about to learn things that are going to blow your mind. From who? Clearly not from her. But let's continue.
Again, what do you look for? You look for water. You look for silt, S-I-L-T. You look for foam in the airways. And you look for heavy waterlogged lungs. It looks like in the in the second independent autopsy, they didn't see much to corroborate that. That leads people to believe that Nolan may have already passed away or have been close to death because there was not a lot of water. Again.
Now that's an outright lie. She literally made that up. She literally made that up. Whoever said that? Did Ben Crump say it? Did the pathologist say it? Who said that it looks like Nolan was almost dead? Who said that? She made it up. Now she's trying to talk so intellectually so that you fall for the BS, because she's going to slide in lies. She's notorious for doing so. But hold on and keep listening. Keep listening.
We're still waiting for other aspects, but get into this, right? More importantly, you look for diatoms in the bone marrow. Now, what are diatoms? I'm going to explain that to you in a second, but it could crack the case open. And it looks like the original.
Hold on. I got to go back 1 second. Didn't she say something about the water? First of all, we don't even know if there was water in his stomach or in his lungs, because the first autopsy report has not been released, and the stomach and the lungs and other organs were not given to the second pathologist who conducted the independent autopsy. Let me roll that back really quick, because she said something about the water.
More importantly, you look for diatoms in the bone marrow. Now, what are diatoms? In the second independent autopsy, they didn't see much to corroborate that. That leads people to believe that Nolan may have already passed away or have been close to death because there was not a lot of water. Again, we're still waiting for other aspects, but get into this, right?
She said there was not a lot of water. How does she know that? And then she said it leads people to believe that he was almost dead or dying. Where did she get that from? Who did it lead to believe that? Okay, I just want you all to pay attention to the game.
More importantly, you look for diatoms in the bone marrow. Now, what are diatoms? I'm going to explain that to you in a second, but it could crack the case open. And it looks like the original autopsy office in Jackson County is withholding this information because since they were the preliminary autopsy, they would be the only ones that could actually tell whether diatoms were there or not.
Now, what she's doing is she's regurgitating everything that I said this morning, but she's using key buzzwords, okay? Talking about cracking the case wide open, talking about diatoms and all of that, because I didn't specify diatoms, but what I said was that they kept all of those parts, the organs and everything, they kept all of that so that the pathologist wouldn't be able to get an accurate conclusion as to the cause and matter of death. Okay, so she's just regurgitating my talking points as per usual without giving any credit. But hold on, let's let her cook.
Okay, now get into this, right? First question that Ben Crump answered. We're going to go to the autopsy like this. I'll be quick. The circumstances of water entry was Nolan force. Now, here's what authorities are saying. They're keeping details very vague, leading heavily into this loose narrative of an accidental slip or misadventure. They also haven't released an autopsy. Again, no matter what anybody tells you or what anybody tries to convince you of, drownings in autopsies are incredibly easy to prove.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there. I proved my point. She said, no matter what anybody tells you. So right there, I want you to pay attention, because what she likes to do is she likes to take other people's talking points and act as though, because she has a bigger platform, act as though she's coming up with this stuff. And then she likes to make sure that people only want to follow and listen to her as if she's some authority. But she's absolutely wrong. She said, don't listen to anybody, no matter who tells you. Well, she's dead wrong, and I'm going to prove it. Hold on. Now, because unlike her, I actually know what I'm talking about. But let me just show you where I believe that she got this from. I believe she got it from her friend and fellow Karen, none other than Nancy Grace. Because here's what Nancy Grace said in that interview when she was talking to that pathologist whom she kept acting as though she knew more than him. Okay, even though he was a bit arrogant, but she was literally acting as though she knew more about what he does for a living for decades than he did. Pay attention.
He is the esteemed lecturer at the Burnett School of Medicine at TCU and has performed well over 10,000 autopsies. Dr. Kendall-Krause, thank you for being with us. Okay, I don't have a ruling from the medical examiner. It should be apparent if drowning was the COD, cause of death. That should be very apparent. by simply autopsying the lungs. Also, you'd know immediately if there were signs of trauma. I've seen the photos of his body.
Okay, let me stop right there. Now, you all heard that? She said it should be very apparent if the cause of death was drowning. Okay, by seeing the lungs. That's what she said. So that's where wig number 2 got that from. That's where she got that from, and they're both wrong. The guy on the show actually told Nancy Grace that she was wrong. Remember when she asked him, can't you just test the fluid in the lungs or the fluid in the body or whatever? And he said, you don't test the fluid. Okay, you don't test the fluid. He told her that. So she didn't know what she was talking about, and neither does this person. Okay, wig number 2. So let me just prove to you how she doesn't know what she's talking about. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Now I'm going to go to 2 different sources. One is just ChatGPT, but then I'm going to go to peer-reviewed like I always do. Okay, I typed in, is drowning easy to prove in an autopsy? Now, mind you, I typed it in for you all's benefit because I already know that it isn't. And I'm sure I've told you this already. Okay, so it says no. Proving drowning in an autopsy is notoriously difficult. Okay, it's notoriously difficult. It's not just a little bit difficult. It's not just kind of hard. It's notoriously difficult. Stop listening to people who don't know what they're talking about and who all they do is copy other people's talking points, and then they can't even get it right. Because if she was doing her own thorough research, she would know that. Okay, please pay attention. All right, please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, let's continue. So there is no single definitive sign that instantly proves a person died from inhaling water. Instead, forensic pathologists rely on a combination of supportive physical clues and treat drowning as a diagnosis of exclusion. There are no unique markers. There is no single pathognomonic test or sign unique only to drowning. Okay, bodies recovered from water often show rapid decomposition or may have undergone medical resuscitation, both of which destroy or alter delicate internal clues. So it is not easy to determine that someone drowned. It is not. Nancy Grace thought that it was, thinking that all you got to do is look for fluid or water in the lungs. Okay, it's a bit more than that, Nancy and Wig. Okay, it's a bit more than that, but hold on. Let me go to this other, this peer-reviewed source, okay? Because I don't feel like ChatGPT is 100% reliable. That's why I like to go to the real research. Okay, so now right here, as you can see, now this is from Science Direct. The lack of drowning-specific pathological findings post-mortem complicates medical legal investigations, okay, when bodies are recovered in water. Okay, so please pay attention. This review provides an in-depth analysis of macroscopic and microscopic findings. Okay, so basically, this says the same thing. The lack of drowning specific pathological findings post-mortem complicates it. Okay, so it's not easy. It's not easy to determine these things. And that's very important. You know, it's little mistakes like that that people can say that are, you know, can really change the whole course of the information that you're receiving. Okay, so I'm going to call it out when people are giving misinformation about things that are technical. Okay, now if you're just talking about who killed Nolan, or you talking about your opinions on that, that's really no big deal. But when you're talking about this stuff, we're trying to get to the bottom of this case, it's very important that you have accurate information and know what you're talking about. Now, with that all being said, let's get into it, because we're going to go to News Nation, where they had a pathologist on there, and he was basically talking about his thoughts on the case and what was found or lack thereof. Now, as you can see here on this diagram, this is the hyoid bone right here. This whole thing was completely missing. Okay, and by the fact that it's the front of the throat, I'm inclined to think that all of this right here was also missing. So there was no way that the second pathologist was going to be able to determine the cause of death. And also remember that I told you that drowning is a cause of death. It's not a manner of death. Okay, so let's continue. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Yes, beloved, all of that was missing, Mabel. And like I said, if they're investigating still, because I thought maybe they had changed the direction or the scope of their investigation. We knew initially they were saying there was no evidence of foul play, but I thought that after all of these different findings have come out, all of these different contradictions and red flags, that maybe they changed their mind. But it looks like to me that they're more comfortable with going ahead and admitting that now, simply because Ben Crump's independent autopsy was undetermined. Okay, it was undetermined. So now they feel like, okay, yeah, we got him. We got him because we withheld the real evidence that they would have needed to determine that there was absolutely foul play. Okay, but we know that there was absolutely foul play. We know there was absolutely foul play because we're smart enough to pay attention to the fact that the bump on the back of the head, okay, the occipital bone, the occipital area, there seemed to have been blunt force trauma or some type of trauma to that. Okay, this could have been a homicidal trauma for all we know. And then we know that them removing the throat, and you're now saying that you still think it was an accident. Well, why do you need to do all this research on the throat? You remove the throat. If that's the case, then in my opinion, I can't substantiate it, but in my opinion, this should let us know that you likely removed and kept the throat, just so the second pathologist could not tell whether or not that Nolan had been choked, okay, hung, asphyxiation, or any of those things. That's why. So they wouldn't be able to prove that it was absolutely foul play. They know exactly what they're doing. Okay, they know exactly what they're doing. We have to pay attention because these devils are real slick. Hey, the lounge beloved. Okay, and by the way, wig number 2, Tisa, she copied the lounge too. Stole her whole catchphrase. Okay, I remember that when we were in New York for the Diddy trial. Okay, so now with that I've been said, let's get into it. I'm going to share my screen so we can listen to this report from News Nation.
Autopsy, this right here, which we're about to get into, of this Mississippi teen, could not determine how he died. The findings were announced today at a press conference held by Nolan's parents and their attorney, Ben Crump. The preliminary report concluded that both Nolan's cause and manner of death remain undetermined pending further investigation. Now, Crump also said the report doesn't rule out the possibility of foul play. There were, I will tell you, a few findings that stood out. For example, the report describes this area of red discoloration at the back of Nolan's head. Its cause is unknown. Pathologist said the finding is significant enough for further investigation. The report also found no fractures, no deep tissue injuries. It also makes clear that there were important limitations to this examination because this was a second autopsy performed after the state of Mississippi had already completed its own examination. And the pathologist, indicated that certain parts of Nolan's body were missing, namely pieces of Nolan's throat. So therefore, according to Crump, you can't rule out injuries to the neck. According to this, the pathologist also didn't have toxicology results, noted that the level of the body's decomposition, all complicating a definitive conclusion as to what happened to Nolan. And by the way, the results from the state medical examination haven't been released. The coroner's office is apparently waiting the toxicology report there too. So what do we make from this? What does it tell us about that first examination? I want to go straight to Joseph Scott Morgan, forensic expert, certified death investigator from Jacksonville State University, host of the Incredible Body Bags podcast. Good to see you, sir.
Real quick before he starts, let me answer this question. Okay, so Jihad James says, could the trauma on the back of the head come from playing football? Well, that's a possibility, beloved. When you have these type of investigations, a death, suspected drowning or suspected foul play, you could possibly, if someone played sports, or it could have been a pre-existing injury, okay, it could have been something that went undetected that the person had, and then it comes out when they're doing the autopsy. But in my opinion, that likely isn't the case. Okay, in my opinion, that likely isn't the case because it seems to me that the bump on the trauma to the back of the head seems to go along with something being done to one's throat. Okay, possibly. Okay, but let's continue. But yeah, that absolutely could have been the case, but I seriously doubt it. I mean, it would be such a coincidence.
First thing I want everybody to know is, as we are evaluating this autopsy report, Dr. Roger Mitchell, you're familiar with his work, right? And you looked at this autopsy. How would you grade it?
Stellar. He did he did a fantastic job. Absolutely.
You said it was very thorough, the way he looked at the body?
Incredibly thorough. As a matter of fact, Jesse, there's a lot of things I can't go go into on air out of good taste.
Sure.
But just suffice it to say, his thoroughness rivals any other any autopsy that goes to this level where you need these kind of eyes on it. He did a fantastic job.
Okay, two questions. One, is it abnormal that this second autopsy, the body they're provided apparently didn't have body parts, didn't have throat structures, neck structures, and B, is that the reason the cause and manner of death are undetermined?
No, I think it's certainly a component of it, Jesse. The body, as the doctor points out, is absent the larynx and the trachea. So you're thinking about where your voice box is, and also your windpipe, otherwise known as a windpipe. And why is this significant? It's significant because these are areas that we look for relative to trauma, right? So crushing of the larynx, any kind of what we refer to as the strap muscles that kind of lace over the neck, that would give you an indication of where somebody could have throttled or done a ligature. And most importantly, and he makes note of this in his report, and where we heard this term before, there's no hyoid. So the hyoid has been contained or retained rather by the Mississippi State Medical Examiner's Office there. And they're doing it, I think, probably for further consultation and perhaps from an evidentiary standpoint.
Does that?
Now, let me stop right there for a second. You heard what he said, right? About them keeping the hyoid bone. So they're keeping that. He said he thinks for an evidentiary standpoint. Okay, so that means collecting it as evidence. Okay, so that means if they were collecting it and keeping it as evidence, as he suspects, well, then that would mean that they think there's some sort of foul play 9 times out of 10. Now, not 100%, but more likely than not, as I showed you all the receipts this morning, okay, from my research, that they would keep that if they think there was foul play. That's evidence, but they don't think it's foul play. They're still saying that it was an accidental drowning. So that's what leads me to suspect that they really kept it so that Ben Crump and his team couldn't find out what the hell really happened. Okay, that's on that. But also, let me say this, as it pertains to the question that the gentleman asked, I forget who it was, Jihad James, asking about the occipital bone, asking about the football injury. Now, the reason I said something about the occipital bone with that is because from the way they were talking about the findings from the independent autopsy, it seems to me that possibly someone hit Nolan in the back of the head. Now, this is just speculation again, I don't know. But it seems that possibly someone could have hit him in the back of the head to knock him out and then strangled him. That seems very plausible to me. Now, again, it could have been a previous, prior existing football injury, but if it was an injury to the point that there's going to be like some sort of trauma or something to where we can see it or they can see it during the autopsy, it may have been significant enough. I would think that it possibly would have been significant enough for them to have noticed it before his death. Like maybe it would have been causing him to be dizzy or have headaches or anything like that. That's something that I would think would have been noticed already, because he likely would have, if he did that during a game or something, he would have likely gone to the doctor for it. So I definitely don't think it's anything that was pre-existing. Okay.
That mean that their conclusion would be definitive if they're looking at these specific body parts, that they can come out and say, we know what happened to Nolan. We can give you the cause and manner of death. If they're going to at least retain those body parts for a specific reason, is that something we can expect?
Yeah, they're just not going to arbitrarily retain these. That's something that would have gone with the body, so they're holding on to that. And again, this is pending toxicology, so they're waiting for a combination of that. One of the problems that the second autopsy ran into is they could not assess whether or not this young man had water in his lungs, which is something that we look for in drowning. There are other areas, other things that we look for as well, but the doctor makes a specific comment on that as well.
Yeah, that he couldn't directly examine the airway, lung, or stomach.
So that's what I'm talking about. So Tisa said that there was not that much water. We don't know how much water there was, or if any water, because we never saw the lungs or the airways or any of that. And the first autopsy is what we need to wait on. We need to see what their findings are, what their conclusions are. And I think it's going to be something shady and sketchy. I think they're going to be lying. That's just what I think. And I'm sure most people think that. And Ben Crump And the family definitely think it. That's why they wanted a second independent autopsy. And the fact that they have not been forthcoming with Robert Mitchell, the new pathologist who worked on the case, the fact that they didn't give him notes, that they didn't explain to him why they kept certain parts of the body, just all reek of a serious cover-up. Like they're just trying to hide information. And even this man right here just said, this gentleman just said that they normally wouldn't just keep that, keep the hyoid. They're keeping it for a reason. And if that reason isn't because they're investigating it for foul play, that possibly there was a homicide or something other than a drowning, then why would you be keeping it? Other than to try to mess up the other autopsy conclusion, in my opinion. But let's continue.
I ask you about, this is something that's getting a lot of attention, is this red discoloration in the soft tissue at the back of Nolan's head. If I even go to the report and I go to the first page of it, they call it focal area of red discoloration in the soft tissue of the back of the head, occipital region. Talk to me about what that could be. And this is the most important question, I think. Whatever this is, this abrasion, this discoloration, potential injury, whatever, the only way it could have been inflicted is before Nolan died, meaning he had to have been alive when this happened?
Well, what the doctor is saying that he cannot include or exclude, and what he would be looking for specifically in this red discoloration is if there is evidence of hemorrhage. One of the problems that he's running up against here, and it makes sense, is that he's in a significant state of decomposition at this point, particularly by the time the doctor is performing the second autopsy. So that area is compromised. He does make note of that. Also, I have to make this comment, Jesse, that with red discoloration like this, sometimes this is in fact indicative of decomposition. It'll turn to a red color. So he's trying to balance this along the way. And keep in mind, he frames everything from the perspective of the fact that this is an ongoing investigation. He has reached no definitive conclusions.
And that's what they do with a preliminary autopsy. Okay, that's what they do. They don't come to a full-on conclusion. They're just showing you their findings thus far and letting you know that more investigation and research has to be conducted. Okay, has to be conducted. Now, with that all being said, I told you all the same thing, about the discoloration. And when I was telling you all about the aquatic decomposition, I was telling you all the same thing about the discoloration that happens after death. By the time the body got to the second autopsy, for the autopsy to be done, the second one, it was 4 days. He'd been dead for 4 days. Okay, so J. Rule says likely a fight where he was held by the neck and slammed. It could have been, beloved. It absolutely could have been, okay? We can't throw anything off the table. And thank you for your insight into the topic and your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. But here's the thing. Speaking of a fight, there's a video that has come out that I saw. Someone sent it to me right before this broadcast. Truth Brown sent it to me. Now, I don't know if this is AI. I don't know if this is real. Listen, I can't verify or anything because this is just a video I'm going to show you. But supposedly someone claiming to know something about what went on or whatever posted a picture and tagged Ben Crump in it. Now, in the picture, it looks like possibly a fight. It looks like maybe that's Nolan on the ground, but I'm taking all of this crap with a grain of salt because like I told you all, I don't want to get caught up in conspiracy theories. I want to stick to the facts. Ever since that girl came out with that message talking about the fight at the pool party and all this stuff, lying since she knew the mother, I'm not believing any of this stuff until I see some real serious proof and evidence. Okay, but I'll show you all the video nonetheless if you want to see it.
By the way, should the family have been allowed an independent autopsy simultaneously with the state medical examiner?
I've been present for autopsies where you have other physicians in the suite as this is going on. Sometimes it can create quite a bit of havoc. I hate to talk about it, but you go back to Epstein, keep in mind, Bodden was present there in the suite as a representative of Epstein's family while that autopsy was being performed, but it's really hard to work around one another.
The final point about this, report found no fractures, no deep tissue injuries. As I think about what potentially happened to Nolan Wells, I'm wondering if you're dealing with a body of water, if you're dealing with potential drowning, would you ever really know whether or not this was foul play or not? How would you know if he was held down or pushed in or something happened as opposed to other kinds of circumstances?
Holding down and pushing down are very difficult.
Fair.
However, what is critical here is that They do testing to see if he was drowned. You look in the inner ear, you look in the airway and in the lungs, and you also do diatom tests, which are looking for these little creatures at a microscopic level. I'm hoping they're doing that. And, beyond that, you're looking for specific trauma. And right now, they're not really saying anything about it.
Okay, so we'll see what the results of the state medical examination are. Could be accidental, could be just a tragic accident, but we'll have to see where this goes. Joseph Scott Morgan, thank you so much for coming on and breaking it down for us.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our
Okay, so now with that all being said, Truth Brown said you couldn't tell. I couldn't tell either, beloved. And like I said, we have to be very careful because, people are out here trying to muddy the water. So I just really, at this point, want to stick to the facts. Okay, I don't want to be guessing who did what or whatever. But like I said, I'll show it to you all if you want to see it. But just know that I'm not validating this at all. Okay, so here's what I found interesting. Okay, Brandon Tate, the raccoon. So he interviewed Warren, as we already know. I showed you all clips from it yesterday. But so now he's released parts 2 and 3. And it seems to me that he's trying to undermine the Black community. Also, he's trying to spew hate because he's coming out saying things about, if you all noticed the other day, he said, we hate white people. That's what he says, because we're saying that we believe that everything that's happened with Nolan's case is suspicious and that his friends acted in a suspicious manner. So he's saying that we hate white people. Nobody said that. He's the race baiter. I want you all to pay attention. He's exactly what he accuses us of being. He plays the race card, okay? He's the one that does it, and he's the one that's doing this for clicks and views. He doesn't give a damn about Nolan. He doesn't care if Nolan's family ever gets justice. All he wants to do is get clicks and views and appease the people that he loves to try to incorporate himself or ingratiate himself into. Okay, that's what he does. And I want you all to pay attention to that, because the thing is, he will always speak against us at the sole behest of the other people. And that's fine if that's what he chooses to do. Okay, that's fine if that's what he chooses to do. But what he needs to stop doing is trying to paint a narrative and trying to insert race into it, because that's what he's doing. See, we're saying that possibly it had something to do with race because of Mississippi's nefarious history of racial violence and hatred towards Black folk. Okay, not to mention recent occurrences. But at the end of the day, what he's trying to do is stoke the flames and the fire and adding fuel by saying that we don't like white people. Nobody said that. See, what he's trying to do is invalidate our argument by saying, oh, they're just saying that because they don't even like white folk, when that's a whole lie. That's a whole lie. We don't like racist people, no matter what shade they come in. Okay, there's that, Brandon Tatum, your raccoon. Okay, please pay attention. But now here's what I want you to also notice. I find it very interesting that Stephen A. Smith, who's also a raccoon in my opinion, is sitting there, actually seemingly speaking as though he just might be on the Black community side for a change. I find it interesting. And so now that's really bad for Officer Tatum, okay? That makes him look even worse. But let's continue. Everyone, please like and share. Let's get into it.
That's starting to get traction. And it's also starting to get polarizing, even though we don't really have any information to motivate true understanding yet.
Now, I want you to pay attention, because he just said 2 reasons why people like Nancy Grace and Wig 2 have hopped on this story. He said it's starting to get polarizing, okay? It's starting to get polarizing, and it's trending, of course. So people are making a lot of views. So that's why Nancy Grace hopped on this. Not to mention, I think she's friends with, I don't think, I know. She's friends with Ben Crump. Okay, so she wants to have his back clearly. And also, she's out here acting like she's going to break the case wide open. Okay, like she tried to do with the OJ case and got ticked off instead. But let's continue.
About the Nolan Wells investigation.
Got it.
I have been on it from jump, and the impetus for me was that I understood why the family felt that the initial word from the investigators that there's no foul play. I understand the sensitivity given the other components of this, where it was, who this is, how quick that answer came before they really had any kind of sense of context. But the immediate pushback was, oh, Ben Crump, Al Sharpton, here they go, making it racial when there's no proof of that. Why has this resonated where other cases hasn't?
Well, it resonates particularly in the Black community because in the year 2026, we find ourselves sensing and being highly suspicious of vicious circumstances. There was a Black dude who was the only Black dude in attendance, and he's the only person, the human being, that didn't come home alive. Something's wrong with that picture. And the people that were there with him have no answers. Something is highly suspicious about that. Now, it would be irresponsible to accuse folks of murder or to accuse folks of criminal behavior that lent itself towards this kid being killed. But the bottom line is that if you sent your son out and they go on a boat trip with these guys and he's the only one that doesn't come back alive and he's the only Black individual that was there, you better believe that the Black community is going to be up in arms as well as we should be, because that is highly, highly suspicious.
I know Stephen A. Smith didn't say as we should be. Did he just count himself among the Black folk? Okay, I can't believe it. I can't believe what I'm hearing. Now, FBA Justice says the one thing we do know is evidence is in the form of human body parts are being withheld. Evidence in the form of human body parts are being withheld. Yes, it's a complete racist cover-up, my opinion only. Well, my opinion too, beloved, absolutely. Okay, my opinion too. They're absolutely covered up evidence that is in human form. The organs are the evidence, okay? The organs are the evidence, and those items are being hidden. Okay, they're being hidden so that we don't get full transparency and find out exactly what happened. Thank you, beloved, for your insight to the topic and your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings.
It's not just that he's deceased, that he's gone. It's that there's no explanation. Nobody knows anything. Well, he was with you. Listen, you're a dad. I'm a dad. We send our children out. And first of all, regardless of what ethnicity, regardless of what color we're talking about here, we send our children out and you're the only one that doesn't come home alive. I'll be damned if the Chris Cuomo that I know doesn't want answers and doesn't expect answers. You know me, and I'm going to push for answers. So for no one to have answers as to what happens is when the suspicion elevates exponentially. That's what this is about. It's about the fact that there's been no answer. Nobody knows. A matter of fact, the parents, from what I read, the parents were saying they didn't even get a hold of the cell phone until they used whatever device to locate it, and it was brought to them by one of the people that was in attendance with their son. I'm saying all of those things lend itself towards an extremely heightened level of suspicion. Something smells. Now, do I know what that is? Do you know what that is? Hell no. But I'll be damned if that we can't ask those questions, and we shouldn't insist on further investigation, and we shouldn't be hell-bent on getting to the bottom of what happened. There was one Black dude in attendance with a slew of people who all happened to be white. You're in Mississippi, and one person comes back, it doesn't come back. They are dead. And it happens to be the Black kid. I'll be damned if Black America is not going to stand up and say, something wrong with that picture. We need to find out what the hell happened. And I stand with folks who say, I need to find out what happened. That's all I'm saying. Need to find out what happened.
Yeah, I think that the two critical words, you got the legal system, and then you got, or is it a justice system? And the fairness is about due process. I think the investigators came out of the box too fast with an answer that this is okay. And were there other Black kids? Yes, I'm sure. It was majority white, of course, overwhelmingly so. I'm sure that these kids are telling the truth when they say they loved Nolan and he was easy to love and everybody loved him. But I get the need for answers, especially when you add all the context. It shouldn't surprise any of us. Stephen A., it doesn't surprise anybody that you're right on point either. And that's why I love having you on. Thank you so much for being.
Okay, he can sit down somewhere saying that he believes that they loved Nolan. No, they didn't. If they loved Nolan, they wouldn't have deactivated their social media and then not even bother to give condolences and kept his items. Please miss me with it. Okay, the people who love Nolan are the people who went to his mom's house. okay, who went to visit his parents. The picture that I showed you of all those students there, they were all black. There was one white young man standing there as well, but all of them, those were Nolan's real friends. Okay, they're the ones that Christine Wansley came out and said that they were keeping her company since he passed away, and she's so grateful and thankful for them. Those are the real friends, okay? The ones who showed up and showed out, the ones who were there at the funeral, the ones who went to check on his parents, okay? The ones that expressed their condolences and empathies and sympathies. Those are his friends. Those boys didn't love him. They didn't love him. If they had, they would not have left him there, specifically after they said themselves that he was drunk. Now, I don't believe he was drunk, but they said that he was drunk. So if that's the narrative and that they want to paint and the hill they want to die on, then my question is, as I said earlier, why would you leave him there, okay, to fend for himself if he was so drunk, according to Lucas Aviz? If he was so drunk, according to Warren Hudson, that his speech was slurred and he was walking and moving slow, okay? If he was hammered is the word that one of them used. Make it all make sense. Okay, make it all make sense. They're painting a narrative. They're painting a narrative. That's what that is. Okay, and trying to distance themselves at the same time. But please pay attention. It's not going to work. Now, with that all being said, let's go to Officer Tatum because he was on Fox News. Okay, doing what he does best, being a whole raccoon. All right, that's what he's doing. FBA Justice says love ain't in those demons' vocabulary. Exactly. Okay, you're absolutely right, beloved. No arguments there. I absolutely agree. They don't care for us just because of who we are. We didn't do anything to them. It's just what it is. Okay, so thank you for your insight to the topic and your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Now, J Love the Queen said, he wants his black card back. Stephen A. Smith is a wild. Okay, thank you for your insight to the topic and your contribution, beloved. Listen, he's not going to get it back. I'm going to tell you what I think. I think that Stephen A. Smith knows that he has black children. He at least has one black child, a daughter, who recently came out and said that she's going to put his behind in a nursing home, okay, when he gets old. And then he's like, yeah, I can't stay with you. She's like, why would you stay with me and my husband? Me and my kids? Stay with me? She said she's put him in a nursing home. So he's out here, windmilling, okay, fighting and swinging and scratching and struggling and all of that to prove his love for her, okay? And he's going to stand up and have her back in case anything like this should ever happen. All right, that's what that's like. Of course, I'm being facetious. That's really not why he's doing it. But I just thought it was interesting that his daughter said she would put his arse in a nursing home. Okay, please pay attention. But at the end of the day, seriously though, he probably feels this way because he has black children. Okay? At the end of the day, he's still a raccoon in my book. But he has enough sense to see that something about this doesn't smell right.
CEO Brandon Tatum. Brandon, great to have you on the show. I want to play some sound from Benjamin Crump. He would see what he said. I think you'll find this is kind of a biased narrative, but I'll let you decide that. Watch.
This pathologist cannot rule out if any intervening non-accidental factors contributed to or caused the death of Nolan Wells. Understand, he said based on the examination of the body, he cannot rule out foul play. That is significant.
Brandon, he says you can't rule out foul play. What he left out is there is zero evidence of foul play.
First of all, Benjamin Crump needs to learn how to read. And I think that he was very disrespectful to the family by even doing this presentation unprepared. It is asinine that he would interject race into a situation where there's no evidence of race and there's no evidence of foul play. I think that every single person under the sound of my voice wants to know what happened to Nolan Wells. But what we don't want is for people to interject hatred into a community that's struggling right now to deal with the fact that a young man who had an incredibly bright future, who was beloved by everybody, would be taken at such a young age. But this is what they do, Trace. They go into these communities, they push racism because it's the only way that they can still keep up the grift.
First of all, let the record reflect that Benjamin Crump didn't go into that community. The Wonsleys came to him. Nolan's mother reached out to Benjamin Crump. Okay, so I'm sorry, Tatum, that dog ain't gonna hunt. But let's continue.
Because we know, and me actually going to Mississippi, I spoke to many citizens there. I spoke to all of the kids that were involved in this, and they were good, quality, young people raised right, and the community isn't rooted in racism like.
He said good quality young people raised right. You know, all of that for visiting with them for a day or two? Oh, okay, so now you're an expert. Okay? Now you're an expert. And then he wants to talk about the community isn't racist. But I just showed you all the whole Klan outfit that was found down there. Okay, I just told you all days ago how they were passing out Klan flyers in Mississippi, Ocean Springs specifically. Ocean Springs specifically. Okay? So I'm sorry. Let him keep lying. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share. I mean, at the end of the day, this man is the one who paints these fictitious narratives. He's the one who's out here playing the race hustler because he's trying to stoke racial tensions by trying to blame the Black community for calling out racism. Okay, that's the reverse Uno card. That's what that is. Okay, projection and deflection and gaslighting all to boot. When we call out racism or suspect that there's racism involved, then we get called out for injecting race into it. The race was already injected into it. Okay, and then notice how Chris Cuomo, when he was just on that video I showed with Stephen A. Smith, how he said he believes that they absolutely loved Nolan. You don't even know them. Why would you believe anything they say any more so than anything that Nolan's parents or anyone else is saying? Okay, please pay attention. See, this is the thing. White people, specifically young white people with money and parents with power, they always will get the benefit of the doubt. They will always be given the benefit of the doubt by people who look like them and by raccoons like Brandon Tatum. Okay, that's what will always happen. They will, meanwhile, that a Black person will always be guilty until proven innocent. Okay, like Carmelo. And now we find out that all the things they said about Carmelo were lies and BS, according to Mike Howard's own affidavit. But let's continue.
Maybe it was several decades ago, but Benjamin Crump has to come out and do this instead of being honest and interviewing every party involved to get the full spectrum before he get out and run his mouth.
And Brett,
notice he said before he interviews everybody involved. Now he's just saying that because he interviewed that boy. Okay, now because he interviewed him, oh, so Ben Crump can interview them. They wouldn't sit down and talk to Ben Crump. They wouldn't sit down and have a conversation. They wouldn't send Ben Crump any information on what happened, and he knows it. He's being disingenuous as per usual. And it's so insidiously obtuse and he's so repulsive, in my opinion. Okay, he's trying to paint a narrative. Now, whether you like Ben Crump or you hate him, whether you think he's a race hustler or not, the bottom line is he gets things done. We would not have gotten all the information on Ahmaud Arbery and what happened to him had Ben Crump and Shaun King not gotten involved. I'm convinced. Okay? This man is sitting here trying to paint narratives and just trying to shame Black people for wanting answers. Okay? For wanting answers. He's the same devil. And here's the thing. He wants to sit up here and say we all want to know what happened to Nolan. He doesn't give a damn what happened to Nolan. And how you know that is because the other day when he was on News Nation with Tesla Figaro, okay, when him and the reporter on there, the host, were tag teaming her because she had questions like the rest of us with common sense do. Okay, he sat there and said that Nolan's parents need to stop interjecting race into it and just simply let law enforcement do their job. That's what he said. So how does he give a damn about Nolan when he's talking trash about Nolan's parents, who all they did, their only crime is wanting the truth and wanting justice for their son and wanting to know exactly what happened to him and who's responsible. That's their crime. But he said they need to stop interjecting race. Now, we're supposed to believe that he cares about Nolan. He does not. He doesn't care about any Black person, not even himself, as far as I'm concerned. Because if he did, he'd stand up and be the Black man that he was born to be instead of a whole raccoon. Okay? Now, Scoop says, of course they used Officer Tap Dance. Yes. And here's the thing. What have I told you all consistently for the 2 weeks that I've been reporting on this? That they keep saying we're the ones interjecting race, but that's what they do. Because every time they want to talk about it, they get someone like him to get up there and talk about it so he can spew the racist rhetoric for them. I told you all the same thing when he was on News Nation with Teslin. That's why they had him on there. I told you I already knew the play as soon as he showed up. They get people like him, these tap dancing raccoons, to come out there and trot them out in front of us, okay? Like Dr. Khalid Mohammed said. They bring them out there so they can start painting the picture and the narrative. So they can say all the racist rhetoric and make all the unfounded accusations against the Black community that the racist devils, the MAGA million types, want to do. That's why he's being used to their benefit, and he knows it. He doesn't care because he gets paid very well for doing so. Okay, he gets paid very well for doing so, and he's going to make sure he gives them their money's worth. Please pay attention.
I want to play. This is because you also talked to Nolan Wells' best friend, and I want to play some of this sound because this is really a big part of the story that is being left out, and you got to the bottom of this. It is well worth the watch. Listen to this very closely.
The statements that are out there made it appear that it was just you, Nolan, and probably 2 or 3 other guys, and y'all are the only ones that went out to this island.
And that's completely incorrect. I mean,
that's the lie that I told you all he said yesterday. Nobody ever said it was just them 4. We all saw the video footage and pictures of numerous people out there. Okay, so nobody ever said that. And we also knew that it was more than just them 4 on the boat. Because remember, I told you all that Javon Williams couldn't get on the boat because he said it was too full. So nobody at any time said that there was only them and Nolan on the boat, or even on the island. Nobody said that, okay? He's being disingenuous again and trying to act as though he's gathering receipts.
Horn Island on the 4th of July is the most popular day to be on the water on, throughout the entire Gulf Coast. Next thing you know, there's 50 other people around us, and then it just grew and grew as the day came on. And, that's just how it was. Everybody's drinking, it's 4th of July. Everyone's just trying to enjoy themselves. And, it's a big party, basically. Big party.
Yeah, and you had witnesses, Brandon, that were saying that Nolan stayed on the island because he was with a girl, and he said he would take the next boat home, and these guys left. It's not like they did anything nefarious. Pick it up from there.
Well, first of all, I want to give a shout out to Warren for being brave and showing courage to come out, because while I was there, the young men were getting death threats, people trying to show up at their houses, but it doesn't appear that they...
Now, you know he's telling a lie, right? You all do know that he's lying. Said they're getting death threats while I was there. They're getting death threats. People trying to show up at their houses. I'm lying. If that were the case, he would have video recorded it and added that into his interview, and he'd be sitting there showing it on Fox News. People trying to show up to their houses. First of all, how do you try to show up to a house? Either you show up or you don't. Which is it? He heard them getting death threats. Well, if he heard it, where's the audio recordings? Okay? Where's the audio recordings? I cannot stand these lying ass people that interject themselves into these sort of stories and are out here giving willful misinformation. Okay? Because that's all he's doing. People trying to show up at their houses. While I was there, they were getting death threats, trying to make them out to be the victims.
Did anything wrong. They showed me, I went out to Horn Island. They gave a very clear articulation that they left. They had Life 360 evidence. They had text message evidence. You name it, they had it. They've already talked to investigators. Some of the young men took an equivalent of a lie detector test and all passed. And they had nothing to do with this. And let me tell you this, Trace, these young men were hurting. They literally had tears in their eyes talking about their best friend who had died. And it's a shame that these race hustlers came out and...
These race hustlers came out. He's the race hustler. The call's coming from inside his own house. Okay, and he said they had tears in their eyes. Okay, so I'm sorry. People can't fake tears. We've seen Karens do it every day. Okay, please pay attention.
Did what they did because Warren and others couldn't even go to the funeral because they were afraid somebody would attack them at the funeral, and they were not welcome there.
Who in the world is going to attack you at a funeral? And when did they take a lie detector test? Stop the count. Stop the count. Now he's putting it on extra thick. How much are they paying you, Brandon? Where are your receipts? He thinks we're going to just sit there and believe the bull crap that's coming out of his mouth just because he's Brandon Tatum. We're not. He's a liar. Okay, he is absolutely lying. I believe he is absolutely lying. He said they took a lie detector test. Okay, please. Who made them? We know this. First of all, who would make them take a lie detector test? Would the sheriff? And if so, why? Because I thought the sheriff thought there was no reason to suspect foul play. So if you're making people take a lie detector test, pay attention, then that means that you do suspect foul play. So which is it? Because today they came out and admitted that they were investigating this only for a suspected accidental drowning. Okay, so either he's lying or the sheriff is lying. But either way, somebody is lying. Okay, somebody is lying. Please pay attention.
And you got to think, these are Nolan's really close friends. He spent the night at their house. He went out at 4th of July with them. And Nolan was a grown man. You know, we all know he was with a young lady. He wasn't trying to go back at 4:30 with these boys. He was trying to hang out like any other teenager would do. And instead of finding out the fact patterns that will lead us to understand what happened to Nolan, they're pushing racism, and it is a shame. And these people should be sued. Their socks to be sued off at the vitriolic stuff that they've been pushing with no evidence.
They're not going to sue any damn body. And you know why they're not going to sue anybody? Brandon Tatum, you fool. They're not going to sue anybody because that would involve discovery. And then we just might find out the whole truth and nothing but. So they're not going to sue anybody. Not to mention nobody's defamed them. Everything we've said, we have a right to say it. If we think that they acted suspiciously, if we think that they possibly did something to him and everybody's covering it up, then we have a right to say that. That's not defamation. That's our opinions. No one said it was a fact, but we're darn sure going to be looking into it, and we want answers. Okay, we want answers. Now he's sitting here talking about they need to sue. No, the ones that need to
Brandon
sue
Tatum,
are the
you
ones.
did exceptional work out there. Thank you for coming on the show, sir.
Please sit down somewhere. And then the nerve of Fox News, of all media outlets, to have anyone on there talking about race, talking about people being racist. They're as racist as they come. That's the most racist news organization ever, okay, in the United States. And the fact that he's sitting there acting like we're interjecting race, but that's exactly what he just did. He should ask himself why in the hell those boys sat down with his black behind. Why did they sit down with his black behind self? Okay? They love Trump. They're all MAGA. Okay? That's why they sat down with him. Because he loves Trump and he's MAGA too. And I want you all to pay attention, because the fact that they're MAGA makes me even more suspicious of their motives and intentions with Nolan. Because we know MAGA is racist. All of MAGA is racist as far as I'm concerned. If you're supporting the Trump administration, you voted for Trump and you're on the right, you're racist. So I'm sorry. That makes me hella suspicious about his friends, because they got to be MAGA, because that's why they sat down with Tatum, right? That's why you sat down with Brandon Tatum. Please make it all make sense. You sat down with a conservative, okay, who's a Trump-loving supporter, because that's what they all are. So did they really love Nolan? Yeah, I don't think so. Okay, miss me with it. Miss me with it. Now, with that all being said, likes up, everyone. Please like and share. Now, let's go to a couple of these clips. A couple of these clips where he was all down there at the beach and everything. And then he says the boys that they're accusing weren't even on the boat that Nolan was on. Well, I find that interesting. So they weren't on the boat that Nolan was on now? This is what he says. Get ready to hear the bullshit. Now he wants us to think that the people that we're accusing, first of all, we haven't accused anyone. We're just suspicious of them. But here's the thing. He's now saying that they weren't even on the boat with Nolan. Didn't we see pictures of them on the boat with Nolan? I'm sorry, the picture that everybody's been using in their thumbnail, aren't they all on a boat with Nolan? Because those are the guys that people are suspicious of. Who is he talking about? Let's get into it. I'm going to share my screen. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share. Thank you in advance. Let's make it all make sense. Okay, let's make it all make sense, because Brandon Tatum absolutely cannot. Okay, that's what he can't do. Now I'm going to put an overlay on this. I'm going to put an overlay on this. Likes up, everyone, please don't forget to like and share. Thank you in advance. Now, listen to what he says.
Some of the boys that they're accusing wasn't even on the boat that Nolan was on.
If I'm sitting waist deep in water and all my friends are, everybody's leaving their phone on a boat. I open the back hatch and there's water up to the batteries. And that is obviously not good. Nolan decided to stay on the island with the girl that he was with. And the girl is a witness to that too.
Yeah. All right, we're in Mississippi right now. We're getting ready to recount the exact path.
Now, I want you to pay attention because what did Warren just say? Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Warren just say that the girl is a witness to that too? Isn't that what he said? Let me rewind it back because I want to make sure. Didn't he say the girl is a witness to that too?
Obviously not good. Nolan decided to stay on the island with the girl that he was with. And the girl is a witness to that too.
Yeah.
That is what he said. He said, and the girls a witness to that too. Now that's a lie. That's a lie. Because we all know that Katie already came out and her mom already came out. They already have said that he didn't stay with Katie, that Katie said he was going to get on the boat with them. Do you all hear this? So now he's saying that the girl's a witness to that too? No, she isn't. Okay, that's a whole lie. But let's let him cook.
All right, we're in Mississippi right now. We're getting ready to recount the exact path that the boys took, also with Nolan Wells, from where they docked the boat at all the way out to Horn Island and back. The boys are going to explain to me exactly what went on, how many people were there, how many boats were taken out, which I think the world is going to be completely dumbfounded when they realize what the truth really is, because the lies have been pervasive. So we're right here where Nolan left on the boat, and you'll find out how many people were there, how many boats, and then we're going to take that same path out. I'm going to go look at Horn Island and see exactly where they could have been to get a perspective that the media don't even care to try to do. And then we're going to take the trek back, and we're going to find out exactly what happened to Nolan.
He says, then we're going to take a trip back and find out exactly what happened to Nolan. Another lie. How could he know and find out exactly what happened to Nolan, but nobody else knows, not even the police, supposedly? Okay, please pay attention. But this is what I want to say. Someone said, hold on, let me find that comment. Okay, where did I just see it? Someone said that he actually said that the girls are witness to that too. Not the girl, but the girls, as in plural. Okay, so basically implying that some girls that were with them, they witnessed that too, that Nolan stayed behind. Okay, that's fair enough. But at the end of the day, where are those girls and why haven't we heard from them? Okay, I have several questions, but let's continue.
This is the reason why I'm here, man. I want you guys to have a voice. I want you guys to be able to speak out and show what the truth really is, and then let the world decide. I just don't want you guys to end up in a situation where your story never gets heard. Right here is where Nolan and probably 20 other kids got on the boat. So it's not just Nolan and 3 other kids. That was a lie. That was a myth. I'm going to prove that. Right here is where the kids were docking, and we're going to show you a video that coincided. I'm going to walk at the exact angle that.
Like I said, he keeps saying that was a lie, that was a myth. I'm going to prove that. No one ever said that, okay? No one ever said that collectively. Maybe one person said it, maybe even 2, but guess what? On a collective, people were not reporting that, okay? Now, Lady Medina says not to throw the girl under the bus. They are a bunch of lying punks. Okay, they're just lying, period, beloved. I absolutely agree. Okay, I absolutely agree. I don't believe anything they say. Why the hell were they scrubbing that boat 3 o'clock in the morning? Why did they lie about getting the tow? And even if you listen, he literally was just saying to Brandon on that clip that I showed, I think it was the one that was on Fox News, but didn't he say something about water, how much water it was? Or maybe it was this one. But he literally said something about how much water was being taken into the boat. Now, if that much water was being taken in, why didn't they have the boat towed after they made the call? And how were they taking the boat back and forth and back and forth? I just have questions. Okay, let's continue.
the video is being broadcast from, so you know that I'm exactly where I say I am. But the boys were here. Tons of people you'll see on the video is getting onto the boat, and they took 3 boats out. It wasn't just one. It wasn't just Nolan and 4 boys. It was a multitude of people on several different boats, and some of the boys that they're accusing wasn't even on the boat that Nolan was on. But let me show you from the vantage point where I have the video to prove that I'm here where I say I am. And so right now, here's the angle that you're gonna see on the footage. It's just from probably that boat to, maybe about 30, 40 feet here to the right. And this is where the video is showing how many people were actually out there, actually getting on the boats. So therefore it debunks very clearly that it was only Nolan and 4 boys going out here to Horn Island.
Nobody ever said that, you idiots. Okay, stop painting a narrative. Now, Lady Medina, thank you for your insight into the topic, beloved, and your contribution. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Okay, he's not debunking a darn thing because nobody said that. Now, I'm going to fast forward.
I mean, you can see literally where it drops off. So, I mean, it goes from about waist deep water right there to neck deep. And then it drops from neck deep all the way to like 17, 20 foot. I mean, we weren't even a quarter mile off the island and when we were leaving, and I mean, it was 30 foot of water.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we're walking towards the east right now, but if you walk down to the west, that's where the west tip of the island is. And that's where the current picks up very, very bad.
People talk about the phone situation. I want to, because the way you articulate it, I just walked in the water with my pants. They're wet. And you can tell right away that if you're hanging out in the water, it doesn't appear, in my opinion, that you would have your phone on you. Is that typical for people to have their phones, or?
No, I mean, people come out here, especially on the 4th and, Memorial Day, like, days like that.
I'm fast forwarding because we know that people
you can't believe
do not take their phones out there. He's again not proving any darn points. We already know that people wouldn't take their phone in the water 9 times out of 10. What we're talking about, see, what Brandon is doing is very sneaky and disingenuous. He's sitting there acting as though he's trying to find answers to the questions, but he isn't. Because why isn't he asking him, why didn't you all give back the phone when you first got it? Why is his mother saying that things were deleted? Okay, why was the phone in Wyatt's truck? Why did it take 15 minutes to bring it back? Were you all scrubbing that boat clean at 3 a.m. in the morning at your stepmom's house? And if so, why? At your parents' house? I'm just saying, he's not asking any of those things, okay? Not asking any of those things. And then sitting there talking about it wasn't just 4 people on the boat. Would you all not take your phones? We already know that you're not going to take your phone, but what he's not going to ask is, why didn't Nolan, if he was going to stay, ask for his phone back? Why didn't he retrieve his phone from the boat? Why didn't they give it to him? Why did we hear someone on the out there on the island yelling, saying, "Give me my effing phone"? What are you effing doing? Why did we hear someone saying that and it sounded like Nolan, and then Nolan's mother finds out they had her son's phone the whole time? He's not going to ask those questions. He's going to sit there and help them paint their narrative because that's what he does. Okay, that's what he does. Sweet lady, beloved, thank you for your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings.
See all the time online, you know that better than anybody. But I mean, there was boats lined up all the way down the island, and there was rows. There was a first row, there's a second row. We were in the third row where it drops off, and then there was even boats in front of us. And this went all the way down towards the east end of the island. And then there was people on the east tip. And we're on the north side now, but there was people on the south side too, lined up all the way down. And if you talk to anybody on the coast about this, they know that. Yeah. I mean, 4th of July, this is the hot spot. This is where people want to be. This is where people want to come out, hang out with their family and friends. And
this interview didn't prove a damn thing. The whole interview is about him just going out there trying to prove that there was more than 4 people, 3 of them and Nolan, on the damn island. Okay, we already know that. So he took a trip down there just to show us this. That's what he did. Yeah, that's exactly what he did. Okay, please pay attention. That's exactly what this idiot did. Please pay attention. At the end of the day, okay, but he wants us to think that he has some sort of receipts, that he's debunked something. He hasn't debunked anything. Okay, he hasn't debunked a darn thing. Now let's go to part 3 because I want to hear this crap. I want to hear this. Now he's got Warren standing out there showing him the view. And basically, let me take this raccoon off the screen. But he's got Warren out there showing him the view of the water and pointing out to, oh, there was people over there was people on the northwestern tip, there was people on the western tip. Well, since we're talking about the tips of the island, let's get into it, Brandon, because I want to know why the hell Brandon Tatum didn't ask Warren why, when they made that phone call saying they were in distress and the boat was taking on water, why the tow didn't actually occur, and how they went on to go back and forth, okay, on that boat that was clearly supposedly in distress according to them. Why they didn't sound frantic when they were calling about this water that was clearly supposed to be up to their waist at least, okay, according to them. Why the vessel left the dock at 9:56 a.m. that morning, arrived at Horn Island at 11:14 a.m. Then they supposedly saw Nolan last at 3 p.m., left the island at 4:31 p.m., and returned to its original departure dock. From there, traveled to Fort Bayou around 5:52 p.m. before returning back to the dock at 6:06 p.m. And then later that evening, the boat went to the Fort Bayou Boat Launch at 7:19 p.m. according to the MSDMR report. Why didn't Brandon ask him about any of those things? Because I find it interesting that the boat made all those different trips and all those different times in the timeline. But nonetheless, the boat was never towed. But you said the boat was taken on water. And if it was in such distress and taken on water, you were still able to maneuver in that boat back and forth and not have it towed. Okay, why didn't he ask him that? I'm just curious as to why he's not asking him the questions that matter. Because it doesn't matter how many people were out there on the island. There could have been 10 people. There could have been 1,000 people. The bottom line is one of those people who was out there didn't come home. And their death seems very suspicious. And the people who went there with him seem to have acted in a very mysterious and suspicious manner. Why don't you bring up any of that? Okay, like stuff, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Now let's go to this last clip.
You know, me not know where he is and him not be okay. And so I called the Coast Guard and I talked to them on the phone for like 20 minutes, gave him a description, what Nolan was wearing, the last place we were at, the last time I saw him, who were we with, what boat we were on, the conditions of the water, just, you know, just a summary. And I called Miss Christine back after and I talked to her and I said, I got in contact with the Coast Guard. I'm not sure who she called or, you know, what she did, but I think she said she was going to make a couple phone calls to either DMR or Jackson County Sheriff's Office. And I mean, yeah, I was thinking worst case scenario. Like, I mean, you know, I would way rather be safe than sorry about this, you know?
Yeah. So you called. So it seems like you called mom immediately.
Right.
Probably the first phone call that she got from anybody.
That's the first phone call, like at least I made. And I would assume that's the first phone call she got from anybody because Javon hadn't called her. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with that, but Javon hadn't called her. And, I mean, I was just worried about my friend, you know, stuff happens out there. Boat.
You ought to pay attention to how this little devil is sitting here acting like he was so damn concerned and Javon wasn't. He just had to mention Javon. Now, mind you, that's the second time he mentioned Javon. I didn't even point it out to you all the first time in the first clip that I showed you all yesterday. He mentioned Javon then too. I already knew what he was doing, what the play was. He wants them to blame it on Javon because Javon is black. Okay, him and Traston. So here's the thing. He said Javon didn't even call. How does he know if Javon had called or not? But here's the thing. Javon wouldn't have called because Javon didn't know anything was wrong. Because Javon left the island before he did and before they were supposed to leave with Nolan. Javon already said that he left before them. So here's the thing. Javon didn't know anything was wrong. How the hell did he know something was wrong? He called Nolan's mom and asked if she had talked to Nolan. Why were you concerned all of a sudden? And then he's trying to act like he called her right away. No, you didn't. Y'all left the island at 4:31, right? You didn't call Nolan's mom till 11:07 p.m., almost midnight. Almost midnight. So you were so concerned, but you didn't call for all those hours when you hadn't heard from your friend. And you had your friend's phone. They had his phone. So they knew something was wrong. Trust me, if they didn't do anything to him, they would have known something was wrong by the mere fact that they still had his phone and he'd not make any attempt to come and retrieve it. Okay, so he commits me with it. And then here's another thing that's quite frankly suspicious, and I've said this from day one. Why is he the one calling the Coast Guard? Why is he the one making all the calls to the Coast Guard, acting as though he's concerned and worried that Nolan might be in distress, talking about better be safe than sorry? If you wanted to be safe than sorry, then you would have waited for Nolan. Nolan would have come home on that boat with you all. And you wouldn't be sitting there telling us that he was hammered, that he was so inebriated, and that he wanted to stay with Katie, somebody he just met. That's what you wouldn't be saying, and you wouldn't have kept his darn phone. Okay, please pay attention. The lies. Now, Dinah says, last guy says Nolan was staggering, walking slow, and speech was slurred. Could it be that that they slipped him a Mickey by the time he saw or talked to Nolan? You know, I don't know, beloved. I wouldn't put it past them because we already have heard that they deal in illegal substances, allegedly. We've already heard from several people their age down there in Ocean Springs that they allegedly deal in illegal substances. So, you know, who knows? Maybe that's why they're waiting for the toxicology report. Maybe that's what's taking so long. Okay, and let's not forget that Warren's dad deals in emergency medicine, and that includes toxicology. Yeah, I showed you all the receipts days ago. But thank you for your insight into the topic, beloved, and your contribution. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Now, sitting up here trying to act like he was so concerned. That's right. Alexa said Nolan will not do any rugs. Exactly. But they may have tried to slip in some, is what Dinah's saying. Maybe they slipped something into one of his drinks. Who knows? But I find it all very interesting. Okay, that could have been the case. I mean, we can't leave any stone unturned because they're just telling a whole bunch of lies and trying to paint these fictitious narratives.
Problems. It could be anything, but I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happens out there, and I was just worried about my friend.
And so you guys made that call. Nothing that night, and I'm assuming you wake up the next day, and then what happens?
I wake up the next day.
You woke up the next day and deleted your damn social media. That's what you did. I bet he won't say that. I bet he won't say that. But here's the thing. He said there's a lot of things that happens out there. Did y'all hear that? He said there's a lot of things that happens out there, as if to say that it's dangerous or has a potential to be dangerous. But you left your friend out there with no phone, with no positive ride home. Are y'all listening? Because the more the devils talk, the more they tell on themselves. The more the devils speak, the more they expose themselves. Okay, let them keep talking. Let them keep talking because they think they're helping, but they're really not. They're helping us to see that they're nothing but liars, painting narratives.
At about 7:30, and my dad had texted me because obviously Nolan's photo was all over Facebook, and you know, I just saw it everywhere, and I was freaked out because I was like, oh my gosh, like that, you know, I assumed, you know, Nolan's just, you know, we had been drinking all day, and like, you know, that he's just sleeping somewhere, and you know that he's okay. But I didn't want to believe that if we didn't know for sure. So I mean, next day I woke up and my stepdad walked to my room and he said, hey, like, have they heard anything about Nolan? Like, what's going on? Because I hadn't spoke to him. And he was like, I was like, yeah, no, like, I don't know. I had just gotten up, and he was like, all right, well, we're going and getting on the boat and looking for him. And I was like, okay, yeah. So I got my buddy Ricky, I got my buddy Brooks, I got my buddy Jax. My mom came on the boat with my stepdad and I, and we all went out there and looked. When I got out there, there was dozens of DMR boats, helicopters, planes flying over Horn Island. And this wasn't just Horn Island. There was also Ship Island they were looking at, I'm sure, and Chandelier Island, Petty Boy. I mean, it wasn't just Horn Island specifically, but where I was at Horn, there were boats everywhere, and not just like random boats, but like, you know, marine resource boats and, you know, cops and, you know, the whole nine. Like, it wasn't like there was just a couple boats looking for Nolan. There was planes and helicopters and, you know, everybody. So.
Do you all think they really got on a boat and went out there looking for Nolan? The same people who didn't even give the mom the phone, the same people allegedly that were scrubbing a boat, the same people who deactivated their social media, the same people who are trying to play the victim. Do y'all really think they got on a darn boat and went out there looking for Nolan? And it's easy for him to say that there were plenty of boats out there and there was people in the sky and the airplanes and all of that. It's easy for them to say because those reports came out already days ago. Those reports already came out. So we already all know that, and so does he. So it doesn't mean that he was there and saw these things for a fact. Okay? And now maybe they did go out there and look. I don't know, but I don't believe it. Okay? Because you sure didn't do anything else to act as though he was concerned. Okay? You didn't call the parents and offer your condolences. So why would I think that you were out there on the hunt for Nolan? Okay? I don't believe it. And how come this is the first time we're hearing about this? Okay, please pay attention. This is damage control. Okay, that's what this is. Damage control.
And then after this, you know, obviously they didn't find Nolan that day.
Right.
And so what was your reaction like when you heard the news, or how did you hear the news that they found Nolan's body?
Well, the next day, well, it got to be about 1 o'clock on July 5th. And I was like, my mind started to turn. I was like, man, you know, if he's not awake yet, like, where is he? Like, you know, like I got very, very worried. And, you know, I was with my buddy Brooks the next day, and we're driving, and my buddies were texting my group chat. They were like, hey, listen. And then I got a phone call from my buddy Trace, and he was like, hey man, they just found his body. And I was like, I wanted to have hope, but it was really, really hard to have hope when they haven't found your buddy in the last 2 days. And, but there's still a little bit of hope there, you know, like maybe, you know, he's not gone and maybe, you know, he's okay. But my reaction was just, I was with my buddy Brooks and I broke down. I mean, I haven't experienced death a lot, but especially with someone I'm as close with as Nolan. And I mean, I broke down, and I sat there on my buddy Brooks' shoulder and I cried. And
sure you cried, devil. Okay, sure you did. Okay, he's not even convincing at all. All right, he's not even convincing at all in the least. I broke down. I sat there with my buddy Bruce and I cried. First of all, who calls their best friend their buddy? Okay, I thought he said Nolan was his best friend. Nolan wasn't his best friend. Okay, it's funny that all of these people are claiming Nolan was their best friend now. Trayson said Nolan was his best friend. Miss Worsley said she doesn't even know him. He says Nolan was his best friend. I'm sorry, he's never even been to Nolan's house. Nolan's real best friend was clearly Javon. Okay, but let's continue.
I was upset. I made a couple phone calls to my buddies and checked up on my buddies because, you know, I care about my buddies too. I mean, like, we're all experienced this. Like, we all realized at the same time. We all heard the news at the same time. Like, you know, he's gone. And so it was really, really hard on me. I mean, I've never experienced something like this, and it was traumatic. I mean, I could tell you where and when I was there, when I got that phone call, you know, where I was. And I just remember, like, it was insane. Like, I can't even put into words how upset I was, you know, and how upset my friends were. So.
And then comes the stories and the backlash and, and the craziness. I mean, you guys are now hearing that you're responsible for it. You did it. You killed Nolan. So what was the next step? Did you guys ever engage with police or?
Yeah. So the first time I talked to the police was July 7th. I talked to the lead investigator, and I told him my whole story, top to bottom. dotted every I, crossed every T. I told them everything I knew, every little detail. I mean, everything I could, tell them to try to figure something out,
Were you the only one to talk to the cops, or
no, of course
some
not.
of the other guys?
Every person that was included, especially, the guys that you see on social media, everybody cooperated with the police fully. Nolan was with us on the way out, and he rode out on the boats with us. So, I mean, we were the first people to get questioned. I mean, we cooperated with the police the first time they called us, and, we talked to them, as soon as they needed, and we were fully cooperative.
And we see Benjamin Crump coming to town, made it about race.
Right.
What's your feeling about that? Do you think that any of this has anything to do with race, or, because, I mean, obviously something happened to Nolan. It appears that you guys may not have been involved at all. Well, I say may not. It's no evidence that you were involved at all.
Right.
You guys had left.
Right.
But do you think that there's a racial component to any of this?
Of course not. I mean, I think if Nolan ever felt the most little bit uncomfortable around us, which we never gave him a reason to, but if he did, he wouldn't hang out around us. But if you go look on, like my friends have had Nolan posted all over our social medias, since freshman year in high school. Like, if Nolan ever felt uncomfortable with us, why would he be hanging out with us all the time? I mean, every day we're back from college, we hang out and we're around each other all the time. So absolutely not. I would never look at Nolan any other way than I would any of my other friends. I mean, he was like a brother to me.
You guys had been interviewed by law enforcement. Mm-hmm. All of you guys have given statements. But then I think that there's a part associated with this that's being rumored out in the public, and that is the situation with the cell phone, potential deletion of messages. When did that occur, and what happened there?
Okay, conveniently it cuts off when he asked that question. Please pay attention. Conveniently it cuts off. I want y'all to notice these things. Listen, what Brandon Tatum is doing is he's trying to help them establish reasonable doubts in case this ends up in a trial. Okay, in case they end up on trial, he's trying to help them to establish a reasonable doubt. That's all that he's doing. Okay, I want you all to pay attention. That's what he's doing, because he's not doing anything else. And here's the thing. I already told you all that the parents are going to absolutely file a wrongful death lawsuit, in my opinion. That's why I believe that the estate has been opened up. The petition for that was filed. And I absolutely hope that they do, because here's the thing. Who was the captain of that boat? Who was steering that boat? Because they're going to be responsible. They can be held responsible, because as the person in charge of the boat, as the captain, you're supposed to make sure that everyone that was on that boat is on that boat, okay? By hook or by crook. So that's negligence, okay, at the end of the day. Now, he said that they cooperated and spoke to the police right away. Now, I don't believe that, because I think that we've just heard a few days ago that they were being interviewed by the police. They didn't speak to the police right away. You know how you know they didn't speak to the police right away? Because the first thing they did was they deactivated their social media and they lawyered up. So would their lawyer tell them to go down there and talk to the police? Probably not. Probably not. The lawyer would speak for them. It's only come out recently, the past couple of days, that they have been talking to the police. I want you all to pay attention, because it's a whole lot of lies being told, and the cover-up is definitely underway. Definitely underway. So hopefully we get some answers. But here's the thing. Let's not get our hopes up, because at the bottom line is they're doing everything they can to cover this up. And this may end up being another case of Trey Reed. Okay? It could end up being another case of Emmett Till, where the culprits absolutely get off. And we don't know who the culprits are. We just know that there are certain people who acted very suspiciously, okay, and who've been caught in several lies, all right? But now they're playing the victim, okay? And Judge Ashley Cole is scrambling right now. She's likely frantic, I'm so sure, because we've already found out that she lied, okay, according to the timeline after the GPS data was put out there. How come he didn't ask him anything about that? And like I said, the interview conveniently cuts off when he asked him about text messages being deleted, okay? Because he don't want to really talk about that. He don't want to have that conversation. Okay, he doesn't want to have that conversation, beloveds. Please pay attention. These people are something else. Now I'm going to go to this video that I'm not vouching for. You all wanted to see it, so I'm going to show it. But this is the video where this lady claims that there might be a picture of Nolan or what looks to be a fight or whatever. Now, like I said, I'm not putting any stake in this because I'm just over it at this point with all these conspiracies and different things coming out. I just want to stick to the facts.
Ago, or about 13 minutes ago, this girl uploaded a image and she at Ben Crump. The image is very telling because someone snapped a picture seemingly on Horn Island where you see basically someone in motion, like in a fighting motion. And then off in the cut, you see another thug. And that thug looks exactly like the one. They look alike. If you look at the pool picture and you look at the one that's standing in the back with the gray shirt on and the white hat, I think that's what he has on. That looks like the same guy that's in the pool being hugged by that monstrous man. And then if you look further down, it looks like that's Nolan on the ground. And basically this young lady is sharing an image that they beat him up. A few minutes ago, or about 13 minutes ago, this girl uploaded a image and she at.
Hold on. Let me say something. I'm going to show you all a close-up of that picture. I screenshot it so you all can see it better. I'm going to show it to you. That does look like the guy who was in fact in that picture looking all scared from that pool party. Now that does look like him. There he is right there. There he is right there. Now somebody's laying on the ground. Now when I on her video, you can't really see. I couldn't get it because of the writing at the bottom of the picture. But at the end of the day, I don't know who that is on the ground. Like I said, I don't know if this picture has been authenticated. I don't know if this picture has been authenticated or not. So I can't tell you. Hold on. So I can't tell you if in fact that is Nolan or not. I have several questions. Whatever the case may be, I definitely think that something happened to Nolan. Okay, I definitely think something happened to him, something nefarious. He was probably hit in the back of the head and then choked out. Okay, and likely more than one person. Now, that's just my opinion. That is absolutely not facts. That is nothing more than mere speculation. Okay, so Dirt Bike Champion says the guy in the pool looking scared. The guy in the pool looking scared me. Name the guy in the pool looking scared. His name is Brandon. He's the same guy saying he's going to expose them if they don't make it right or tell the truth. Are you serious? Hold on, that's the same dude. Hold on, beloved. Hold on, let me pull that video back up. Hold on. Where is that darn video? I showed you all that this morning, right? Okay, I know where to find it. Let me go to Secret Service Sam. Let me go to Secret Service Sam because I bet you he reported on it. Hold on. So I don't have to just hunt for that video. Hold on. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Yeah, here it is right here. I knew Sam would have it. Let's take a look at him again and see if that's the same person. Okay, here we go. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Yeah, let's see if this is in fact the same person because there might be something to it. Hold on, I don't know. Okay, here we go. Let me share my screen.
I'm here, and some unidentified kid just made a video saying he sees it one or two ways. Either they make this right or he leaks everything. What does this mean? There's now $125,000 reward for any information. Terrell Owens has given it, Al Sharpton, Tyler Perry. I almost feel like somehow we should start a GoFundMe to make this reward so big that it makes whoever is holding all these secrets come forward so we get justice for Nolan Xavier Wells. Can anybody help me to find out who is this kid? I'm sure you've seen the video by now. And what does he know? And if they don't make it right, if you're watching the kid who made that video, they're not going to make it right. So leak it. What are you waiting for? Leak that ish now. We need justice. Secret Service Sam Out Sampson for president of the world. Secret Service Sam here. And
Okay, so he didn't show the video. I thought he was going to show the video. Hold on. I thought he was actually going to show the video. Hold on, but here it is. I just found it. Okay, so. But here's the thing, though. Here's what doesn't make any sense. And this is why I don't like to get caught up in this stuff. Because if this, hold on. If this is the dude from the picture that's talking about leaking it, that doesn't make any sense to me. Because it looks like he's the one that's involved in the fight. Okay? It looks like he's the one. This doesn't look like the same kid to me. Yeah, that's not the same kid. That's not the same kid. And that would make sense anyway, because as I said, the guy in the picture is clearly the one hold on. Here he is right here. Yeah, I did say that the money will make somebody talk. It absolutely will. Here he is right here.
It is. They have one of two choices. One, they can make things right, or two, I leak everything.
Okay, I don't believe anything that he says. I don't think he knows a darn thing. I think that's someone just basically clout chasing. I already told you all that this morning. I think that's someone clout chasing. I don't think that's someone who really legitimately knows anything. And here's the picture again. That's not the same person in the picture. And it really wouldn't make sense to me if it were, because if he's threatening to leak anything and then he's the one in the picture, he'd be telling on himself. He'd be telling on himself. See, this is why I don't want to get into all this. This is why I don't want to get into all this. I'm not verifying that picture. Okay, I can't confirm or deny that picture. At the end of the day, all I want to do is stick to the facts. Okay, because the facts are starting to get too convoluted. Too convoluted at this point. Okay, it's starting to get too convoluted, and it's too many theories coming out. There's too many theories coming out. There's already people trying to muddy the waters. Listen, I don't want to get into it. Okay. Let's just stick to what we know. And what we do know is that Brandon Tate is trying to help cover up suspicion for those young men that we believe were involved. He's also trying to help them set up their whole thing for reasonable doubt in case they have to go to court. And also, he's absolutely lying when he says that he debunked anything, because there was nothing for him to debunk. The things he's talking about, nobody even really said. Okay? So I want you all to pay attention. Now, here's what I do think. I think something nefarious happened to Nolan. I think that Nolan was either strangled manually or by a ligature. That's what I think. I think that he was either strangled manually or by a ligature, strangulation. And I think that before he was strangled, that he was hit in the back of the head. Okay, that he was hit in the back of the head. This whole part of his throat right here is missing from the independent autopsy. This hyoid bone right here was completely gone. Damage caused to the hyoid bone indicates strangulation 9 times out of 10. Okay, strangulation by ligature, manually, or a hanging. And you can even differentiate whether or not the hyoid bone was damaged by a hanging, positional asphyxiation, or strangling. Okay, that's what the medical examiner can determine. So, at the end of the day, I hope we get some answers. I don't know that we will, because it looks to me like they have an ironclad cover up. That's what it's looking like. And we know that plenty of times we have wanted to get justice, and we have been searching for it and going through all of this stuff. Hold on. What is this? Oh, hold on. Hold on. Hold on, you all. Okay, I'm looking at something that I just got sent. This looks like AI to me. Okay, this just doesn't look real. I'm not even going to show this crap because I'm not going to show this. It just doesn't look real to me. Okay, it looks like AI generated. This lady sitting here showing a video. And in this lady is showing a video of someone crawling on the ground in sand. And this is supposed to be Nolan. For number one, it doesn't look like Nolan because the person looks too dark. Second of all, they're wearing khaki shorts, not blue swim trunks like Nolan had on. Third of all, he recorded this. He recorded this crap. This looks like AI to me. Okay, I'm sorry. We're not doing it. We're going to stick to what we know in the facts. We're going to stick to what we know in the facts. Greta Lee said, we do not do an AI over here. Don't send it to Queen, please. Okay, I don't believe any of this stuff. Okay, I'm not. I'm not. I don't believe any of it. I know that we want answers. The DA is speaking now. Hold on. Let me pull that up, beloved. Thank you. I just find it all interesting. Here we go, right here. Thank you for that, beloved. This is 4 hours ago. Let's get into it. Ooh, I'm so glad you told me this, beloved, before I concluded the broadcast. Because it's nothing I hate more than to do a broadcast and then find out some news after that I could have included. So let's get into it. Thank you for that, beloved. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to be getting into all these conspiracy theories talking about this person, that person. I told you all, we don't know who did what. We only know what we suspect. And I don't want to be out here painting narratives. Now, this is the Jackson County DA. And I want you all to pay attention because if you remember earlier, I showed you how Sheriff Ledbetter, okay, he sat there and basically told that lady, hold on, is this it? Yeah, I'm going to show you all this other video. It's a more thorough video of him. But he told the young lady to, matter of fact, I'm going to show that first. Okay, I'm going to show that video first. So Sheriff Ledbetter basically told the young lady, the reporter, to direct all of her questions and concerns from now on, here on out, to the DA. So I'm not surprised that the DA has now come out and decided to speak. Okay, let's go to this clip first, and then we'll move on.
Plus News, I'm John.
Okay, hold on. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance. I showed you all this morning. I think this one may have a little bit more information. It might be a longer clip, is what I think.
Sure. Can I ask you a quick question really quickly? Can I ask you a question? Any extra details? Because we did just get the independent autopsy results today. Anything?
In the latest around the case of Nolan Wells, answers continue to be demanded about the teen's mysterious death that originally was positioned as an accidental drowning by local authorities. Now, as the investigation still continues, some suspect that either local authorities are seeing signs of foul play or are making sure to get answers as public criticism.
Let me fast forward.
As more media begins circulating, it doesn't.
No. Okay. Yeah,
it's still actively being investigated.
Again, this was from the press conference this morning. When mom said that y'all were saying there was no foul play in the beginning, but now this, has anything changed since then at all, or?
Like I said, we're actively investigating the case. It's still active, ongoing.
Now, I want you to pay attention to how he said we're actively investigating the case. It's ongoing. He didn't say that it was for suspected drowning, which we now know that that's still what they're looking into. Okay.
State medical examiner did not release their report right at this time.
If I were you, I'd check with the district attorney's office too. As far as I know, you don't have to publish that. That's going through the district attorney's office. That's not.
Now, the moment honestly looks to have caught Ledbetter off guard, but he would continuously state that it is still an ongoing investigation, while dodging
Hold on.
in-depth questions and any thorough reactions to the results from this newest autopsy. Now, you should.
Okay, that's right. He was clearly dodging questions. And he told her that if he were her, he would speak to the district attorney as if he doesn't know the answer to whether or not that other autopsy has been completed. Okay, he knows. He knows. Okay, and then pay attention. He's basically telling us that they're not going to release that other autopsy report. Okay, because he said that doesn't have to be released. That's what he said. If I were you, I'd go to the district attorney office because that's where that stuff is going through. That doesn't have to be released. That's basically what he said. It doesn't have to be released. Now, okay, that's fine and dandy if they don't want to release it, but are they at least going to give it to Benjamin Crump and his team so they can try to figure out what happened as they conduct their independent investigation? Okay, I have questions.
Attorney for the 19th Circuit Court District of Mississippi, I want to talk directly to the people of Jackson County. Our community is grieving the tremendous loss of Nolan Wells, who is loved and treasured by everyone. Nolan's family deserves answers, and our community deserves answers. Every death in the county, except those of natural causes and non-criminal car wrecks, are presented to your grand jury. Many people don't know that. We have handled death investigations in this manner my entire career. Nolan's case is being handled the same way, with the same care and the same commitment to the truth that we handle all death investigations.
I'm calling BS because in all death investigations, what they don't do is immediately come out and right away say and assume, okay, and speculate that it's accidental. That's what they don't always do in all death investigations, only when it's Black folk that have gone off with white people down there in Ocean Springs.
I understand the public's urgency to know what happened to Nolan, but we are not taking time for time's sake. We are taking the time required to complete the work this investigation demands. Since Nolan was reported missing, local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies have worked around the clock investigating what happened to him. Every piece of evidence must be examined.
No, they've worked around the clock to try to cover up what really happened to him. That's what they've done. They've worked to cover it all up. And I want you to pay attention to how they're all now coming out speaking after that second autopsy report and after Nolan's funeral. Okay, pay attention. Now everybody has something to say. Now everybody's coming up out of the woodwork. All of Nolan's fake friends, they all want to do interviews on podcasts, but didn't want to go to the police weeks ago. Okay, and now here we have the DA coming out speaking. All right, please pay attention.
Every credible lead must be followed to its conclusion. Every witness interview must be analyzed in context of all other evidence. The pressure for answers does not change what the work requires. Our responsibility to Nolan and our community is to complete this investigation thoroughly, carefully, without compromise, supported by the evidence and worthy of the confidence of the people we serve. I also understand that many people have questions about why more information has not been released publicly. In Mississippi, the rules of professional conduct restrict the information a prosecutor can release during an investigation. Our restraint in communicating facts and evidence is not an effort to keep the truth from the public. It is an effort to protect the integrity of this investigation and the grand jury proceeding. As your district attorney, I have an ethical obligation to avoid public statements that could influence witnesses, prejudice a proceeding, or compromise the fairness of the legal process. My obligation extends to and requires me to use reasonable care to ensure investigating agencies avoid making those statements and releasing information as well. These rules exist to protect the search for the truth, not to prevent it. As divided as the discussion surrounding Nolan's death has become, I know we all want the same thing, to understand what happened to Nolan. With that being our shared goal, we must also share in the goal of protecting the integrity of how the truth is discovered. If we sacrifice the integrity of the process in effort to satisfy today's questions, we risk undermining the confidence in tomorrow's answers. When the public asks, what about this, or have they looked at that, or did they think about this? The answer is yes. Those are the same questions investigators ask. The difference is that we can't publicly discuss the evidence, the interviews, or what those efforts have uncovered while the investigation is underway. Again, our restraint in sharing details of the investigation is not a refusal to share the truth. It is our commitment to protect the process that allows the truth to be known with confidence. There's a lot of information out there, and there is a heck of a lot of misinformation out there. I simply want the community I serve to know that this investigation is being handled with the care, professionalism, and commitment to the truth that every family in Jackson County deserves. As we continue this important work, Nolan's family, his friends, and all who loved him remain in our prayers.
Girl, bye. Okay, girl, bye. I'm calling Cap. Okay, thank you for letting me know that she spoke, beloved. I appreciate you. She needs to sit down somewhere because I don't believe a word of it. Okay, she was clearly reading a script. Okay, looked like she had a whole teleprompter in front of her. It was so disingenuous. There was no passion behind it. It wasn't even slightly convincing. It wasn't even slightly convincing. Even Wig 2 can pretend that she's concerned about Nolan. Okay? Now, that wasn't convincing at all in the least. Now, Ashkan says, nature always balances things. They let their impunity make them arrogant. They were always stupid, so it was easy. I'm sorry. So it was only a matter of time before the collapse of a house of cards. Not that you said they were always stupid, Ashkan. You are so nefarious. Okay, you are so nefarious. Okay? Cut the bullshit. Wayman said, or the bullshit. Wayman said, how much did I miss? I'm at work. Dang, LOL. Thank you, Queen. You're welcome, beloved. Okay, you missed the whole broadcast just about. We're about to conclude, beloved. But shout out to the replay gang. Okay, shout out to the replay gang. Listen. At the end of the day, if you want accurate details and reporting, please tune into the Queen Ahmadiyyah, the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur channel. Okay, tune into this show for accurate reporting. All right. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not here trying to paint narratives, and I'm definitely not making up stuff and giving y'all misinformation and trying to convince you that a drowning is one of the easiest things to prove in an autopsy when it's the exact opposite. Okay, I'm sorry, but people that are obtuse will continue to be obtuse, but it would behoove them to do the actual research so that they don't just look and sound like they may know what they're talking about, but so they actually know what they're talking about. Okay, because you can look and sound like you know what you're talking about, but then when there's something significant and you say the wrong thing, it always shows that you never knew what you were talking about. Okay, mimicking other people's talking points comes at a cost. Please pay attention. It's always important to do the real work. All right. Now, with that all being said, I'm going to conclude this broadcast. I want to thank you all for tuning in. I will be back in the morning. Okay. I will be back in the morning and with more receipts and information and details. Okay. So until then, beloveds, each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Until next time, peace.
Hit him with that gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunsa. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got